Welcome to Profits of IT, the podcast that cuts through the noise and gives business owners and executives the clarity, confidence, and kickstart they need to grow smarter in a tech-driven world. If you ever felt like IT is all about chasing the latest tool or trend, today's guest is about to flip that idea on its head. I'm talking with Aaron, CEO of UpTime Sciences, one of the most innovative MSPs, recognized by CRN as one of the top 250. Aaron not just building systems, he's building trust. And today, we're going to learn how to make tech work for humans, not the other way around. Real quick, if you're a business executive with ideas, insights, or solutions that need to be seen by the right people, ManageProspectingSystem.com helps you show up like the expert you are. We create authority-boosting content that puts your message on the platforms your prospects already trust and include outbound outreach. Check out ManageProspectingSystem.com. Now let's jump into it. Aaron leads UpTime Sciences, and what makes him different is he doesn't believe tools solve problems. He believes people do. He brings a practical, honest, and no BS approach to tech and business and leadership. Not to mention, he's a fun guy that skateboards to work. So, Aaron, why don't you say hi to the audience?
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everyone. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited to have a little conversation with you.
Great. Let's jump right into the truth bomb. Why is believing tech solves everything holding so many businesses back?
So I think there are a couple answers to that question. One of the answers is that we're being inundated with a big marketing blitz of I'm going to solve every problem that you've ever had with a quick flip of the switch or just a spend of the coin. And I think we've all come to realize that the reality is not that you're going to spend $1 to solve a problem, or you're going to flip a switch to solve a problem. You're probably going to have to really understand that problem and or dissect that problem and really understand parts of the problem that you can reasonably solve initially. And then I think there are probably other pieces of that puzzle or that problem that may be more long-term fixes. And so I think what our focus is kind of trying to cut through some of that noise. We want to avoid the big promises and the big, you don't have to do anything and we're going to do everything type of a scenario, and just be honest about it, and that it's going to take effort from both sides for success to occur. And that's just the way it works. And I think it becomes more of a philosophy than it does a transaction. So it's how you look at the problem, and it's how you approach the problem, and also how you approach the solution. And so in our opinion, I think that it's too often it's buy something or plug this tool in or jump through this hoop, and that's genuinely resulting in, or I guess probably generally resulting in disappointment for most folks.
And, I guess when businesses have an issue with tech, it's common that they're told, well, just upgrade whatever it is. And I think in my mind, that's not necessarily always the right thing. You want to expand on that aspect of it?
Absolutely. So a good example is Microsoft. For example, in the Microsoft space, is you'll typically run into, I want to enable this feature, I want to make this function work, and a lot of times you get a little notice that says, well, all you have to do is acquire more licensing, or all you have to do is buy this or buy that. And so I think that what we found is that there are ways around some of those things. And there's also really understanding what kind of outcome you're looking for when you're putting effort into something. So if you don't really have an idea of the outcome you're looking for, you're probably going to have a tough time finding something that makes you happy. And so ultimately, what we run into is, hey, all you need is one more step, or all you need is one more license, or one more computer, one more employee. And a lot of times the problem is bigger than that. And so I think if we look at it, kind of as we talked about before, if you back up and you look at this from far away, sometimes there are things that you can do that solve 70% of the problem without spending any money and require little effort. But those are most of the time proactive and less reactive. And so I think our big pitch now is focusing more on preventative than it is on reacting to problems. And so if we can solve a problem in half the time that another entity or maybe an employee themselves tries to solve, then the organization net gains because the employee gets that time back. And also from a morale perspective, it's nice to be able to hand something off. I mean, I go to the doctor for doctor things. I go to the mechanic for mechanic things. I don't try to fix everything that goes wrong with my car, and I definitely don't try to do surgery on my own body. And so, I think surrounding yourself with experts and having the best advice and the best strategy possible, maybe a good substitute for purchasing and acquiring and stacking tools on top of each other and trying to integrate them all into one big, you know, happy, cohesive thing. Because the problem is the more complicated you get, it only takes one of those pieces to change or break or to really bring the whole house of cards down. And so
Jenga.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So when we Jenga, we like to just put two by fours together and screw them into a big pillar instead of a bunch of little stacks, right? And um, so ultimately, I think we're trying to simplify, but overall, again, I think that buying things and plugging things into your existing tools is not always the best answer unless you have a very direct and deliberate strategy toward an outcome, and that tool or that piece is going to achieve that, and you know that I'm okay with. But I really think that a qualification process is required to really understand whether or not you're getting the value for the spend or even the effort, or maybe something that a lot of people don't think about, the soft cost of disruption, which is significant.
That makes sense. So, when we talked earlier, you mentioned that you've worked with other businesses that come to you after being burned by other providers, either overpromised, misled. What should business owners and executives be watching for to avoid selecting the wrong IT partner?
Oh, this is a great segue because what we just talked about is probably one of the big red flags that I see is when a vendor comes in and promises you the world, and it seems too good to be true. It probably is. I mean, there's very few things in this world that you're going to get that are of value that you don't actually have to work for. And I think most people listening can agree that things that are free generally don't get respected either. So if I give you something, or if you get something with minimal to zero effort, it's a good chance you're not really going to value it highly. And so that's just kind of natural. There's the unearned, there are all kinds of sayings about unearned things, and I think that you have to earn it. And if anybody comes in and promises you this utopia of business pleasure with where you're just spending all your time with your family and you don't have to worry about anything, well, they're probably lying to you. That's just the way it is. And so, um,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
the I think there's a that comes to mind the book The 4 Hour Work Week when Tim Ferriss he writes this book, but in all actuality he works way more than 4 hours a week.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I mean, and the 4 hour work week, I think, is retirement, right? And that's the end. That's when you don't care about making money anymore. So no, but I think ultimately the pitch, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And I think that I would advise people to scrutinize a pitch like that. And I know I do. Second thing is always read the agreements. Don't click to accept. Just read them, especially I'm talking about for your business. So I know personally we click to accept on a regular basis because it's a lot, right? Well, if you really think about that, it's probably by design. And if you're in a business and you're making agreements and you're clicking to accept, you should probably know what you're clicking to accept. So, eh, critical piece. I get criticized all the time for actually reading the agreements, but eh,
It sounds
I'm
like
old. I'm old school, I guess.
it sounds like it comes down to transparency too. And you mentioned when we were talking about earlier that you're big on transparency, and even if it costs you a sale, uh, how can others in their businesses use that as a model to build long-term trust with their own clients and prospects?
Excellent question. So trust is very difficult to earn. That's really easy to lose. So one of our administrators says it best is think right, act right, do right, and you'll be right. Right. So do the right thing. You don't just because there's gain for you. I think that that's a good crossroads for people to think about is if there's an opportunity to earn more trust with a client, then that's something that you should really, really explore. If there's an opportunity to make more money off of a client and gain trust, that's that's a huge benefit. But I think that the money part is always going to be secondary. I think the trust and the best advice and the objective treatment of your clients, meaning if I were you, this would be my best choice, or at least this is how I would feel about that situation. And it may result in you not spending money with us as a business, but I always want you to be able to call me and ask me and know that I'm going to give you the real answer that I believe is real. And maybe I'm wrong. It's definitely possible, but I'm not going to do it because it's self-motivation. It's going to be more of trying to help you. And then I want people to tell other people because, Jim, as I've articulated, we don't really market. So being that we don't market, we need those people to trust us, and we need those people to talk about trusting us. And when they do that, other people want to find out what that's all about,
Uh-huh.
and they want to know what a business relationship where you're not worried about them selling you things you don't need. Yeah, that's what we're promoting. We really want that. And I think also we're from a pricing perspective, we're on the West Coast. I don't know how that affects things really, but we're about 70% lower than the national average on similar services. And so when I think
Wow.
about that, I think we're doing it at a lower rate, and we're trying to do it at the highest level of trust possible. And I think that the clients feel that overall. I think that those both kind of come together as a high trust. And if I can't, if even if we charge 70% less for the managed services piece, clients find other ways to spend money with us because there are other things too. So and we go beyond the MSP thing. We obviously, I think I talked a little bit about this, but we do unified communications through Teams, but we do compliance services, and then we also do employee productivity monitoring and management too, which are kind of outside of the traditional managed services space. And so when we talk about some of those things, those are kind of potentially friendly bolt-ons to what we're already doing for our clients. And so yeah, and I think that those nothing we do. We don't talk about anything, or we don't talk about putting anything on our line card that isn't going to benefit our clients overall in the end.
So, Aaron, if somebody'd like to learn more about either reach out about your MSP or business in general, what would be a good way for people to get a hold of you?
You won't see us on a billboard. You won't see us in a TV commercial. You probably won't hear us on the radio. But you might hear us doing educational talks, or you might hear us doing kind of lunch and learns, or getting people together to at least discuss a topic that's something that's interesting to the group. And so there are a few different ways. UpTimeSciences.com is a good way to start. And that website is going to be updated here very soon. We're continuing to work on some content there to kind of articulate some of the things that we talked about. But then also, we're in Eugene, Oregon. In my opinion, we're the best MSP in Eugene, Oregon, but we operate up and down the West Coast. So from Seattle to, pretty much from Canada to Mexico. And if anybody looks me up on LinkedIn, it's Aaron Ferraiuolo, UpTime Sciences. Spelling is Ferraiuolo, sometimes Y.
We'll include those in the show notes so that it's easier for people to find you.
Excellent.
And Aaron, well, thank you for coming on today and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate being here.
And until next time, I'm Jim Hunsenberg, your host. creator of the managed prospecting system. Stay hydrated and caffeinated.